We live in an era of blinding technological speed. But look closely at the systems managing that progress, and you'll find a paradox. That rapid expansion frequently collides with a legal framework built centuries ago, halting momentum before it can scale. We operate today in the cognitive age. Paradigm-shifting breakthroughs now function as strategic assets that shift global economic power and dictate military balances. Inventor and former Google engineer R.J. Aguiar argues that our struggle to protect these breakthroughs points to a fatal structural omission in the classical three-branch architecture of modern government. When the Founding Fathers drafted the blueprint for American democracy, they relegated intellectual property to a subsidiary of civil commerce. They did not build a dedicated constitutional pillar to protect the output of the human mind. Because of this 18th century omission, modern inventors operate without core structural protections. Their cognitive output is left entirely exposed to systematic extraction by highly coordinated corporate and legal cartels. The evidence for this vulnerability is currently being documented in fragments across the highest levels of academia and government. This communication log shows the convergence of disparate fields. It connects Johns Hopkins research on legal monopolies, Duke University studies on cognitive liberty, and Berkeley Law's investigations into IP lawfare, pulling them together alongside state legislators and the U.S.-China Commission. Harvard's research integrates into this network by documenting the corporate capture of state court database registries by private vendors. These multidisciplinary findings suggest a coordinated, systemic blind spot rather than a series of minor administrative errors. Individually, these experts are cataloging localized anomalies. Combined, they map a structural vulnerability within the legal system that impacts both civil rights and national security. This model shows the tripartite government. We must examine the judicial branch's unique design. Historically, the legal profession is the only body to convert a private trade cartel into a constitutional monopoly. The rule of law is executed exclusively by licensed members of the guild. Consider the implications of a hypothetical medical branch of government, staffed entirely by doctors, where a citizen's physical liberty or bank accounts could be frozen by a guild court without any external, non-medical review. Because the legal system is a closed loop, it develops an autoimmune response to outside scrutiny. When an unrepresented citizen petitions a court on logic or merit, the system frequently auto-rejects them based on procedural traps and secret clerical codes. History proves this structure is vulnerable. Federal investigations, like Operation Greylord in the 1980s, revealed that entirely insulated local judicial systems inevitably degrade into pay-to-play, self-funding racketeering operations. When judicial discretion operates without external oversight, the rule of law becomes an instrument of physical and financial extortion, executed under the color of law. The lowest, most vulnerable level of the system lies in generalist family courts, specifically in how they handle asset division through the concept of community property. This comparative matrix illustrates the marital category error, the legal assumption that complex algorithms or patents can be severed and divided 50-50, exactly like a harvested crop or a physical piece of real estate. This approach ignores frameworks like Hegelian personality theory, which assert that creations of the mind are an inalienable extension of personal liberty. Tracking this on the matrix, treating the mind like physical property, creates a massive clerical asymmetry, resulting in the inventor's penalty. If an inventor properly registers a breakthrough with the USPTO, they create a highly visible public record. Generalist courts then seize on this paper trail, attaching massive speculative valuations to pre-revenue assets to extract wealth. Conversely, if someone spends their marriage acquiring unregistered cognitive capital, like deep strategic business knowledge or elite professional networks, the court assigns that a valuation of 0, simply because it lacks a registered serial number. The behavioral consequence is predictable. This legal structure actively incentivizes creators to keep their breakthroughs hidden in complete darkness to avoid state-sanctioned extraction. By structurally penalizing public registration, these local courts directly undermine the constitutional purpose of the patent system, placing a hard brake on organic technological advancement. The damage extends far beyond the local level. When the state mechanism fails to protect intellectual property, it creates a massive opening on the international stage. Consider the risk profile of dual-use technologies, such as nuclear-powered logistics algorithms or post-quantum encryption. The ownership of these assets determines national defense readiness. This flowchart maps how foreign adversaries weaponize domestic legal vulnerabilities. Under the guise of civil litigation, local tribunals are manipulated into forcing the transfer of dual-use technology hardware to state-controlled entities abroad. These extraction proceeds are funneled back into the system. The stolen capital is used to execute hostile takeovers of the electronic docket providers managing state judicial records, completely financing its own infrastructure. This creates a self-funding machine that permanently locks out public accountability by directly controlling the state's public record system. Through this systemic loop, a single biased trial judge signing a civil order can effectively execute an act of geopolitical sabotage from within. We are beginning to see real-world political pushback to disrupt this extraction loop. In 2024, the Mississippi State Legislature introduced House Bill 1148. Authored by Representative Shane Aguirre, this bill attempted to explicitly exclude intellectual property from being classified as marital property, aiming to shield the mind from localized division. At the national level, researchers are proposing an even stronger mechanism, the Federal IP Jurisdictional Shield Act. This federal statute would immediately preempt local courts. The moment an inventor files a notice of federally protected IP, all county-level proceedings attempting to execute discovery or seizure of source code would be instantly stayed. These legislative shields act as the vital first steps to short-circuit the local corporate asset extraction blueprint and strip local courts of their ability to seize national defense assets. But temporary legislative shields are not enough. We must address the root architectural omission. Establishing cognitive sovereignty requires moving intellectual property into a foundational pillar of democracy, a dedicated independent fourth branch of government. The head of this branch would be a specialized Supreme Court of Intellectual Property, or SIIP. Crucially, this court would be staffed by Article III federal judges, selected specifically for their rigorous technical and scientific expertise, rendering them immune to manipulation by local corporate testimony. To survive the cognitive age, we must rethink the boundaries of liberty. The mind and its creations must be legally declared a sovereign domain, protected from localized, state-sanctioned extraction.